We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Tesam and Beis in Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 59b. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought a Mishnah Meseches Kalim about a tanur, an oven that's assembled from various segments. Rabbi Eliezer said it was tamei, and the Chachamim said that it was tahor. And the Gemara now says, V'zehu tanur shel achnoi. This is the tanur shel achnoi, the oven of achnoi. The Gemara says, My achnoi. What does it mean achnoi? Amar Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says Sheikifu devorim ka'ach nazu v'timu. They encircled it with various arguments like a snake, and they made it tamei. That's referring to the position of the Chachamim. And Rashi explains achnoi is a nachash. It's a snake. Darko lasos ba'agula. It goes into a circle. Lahachnes navo etzel piv. It brings its tail by its mouth. And the Gemara continues, Tana was taught, Biosu hayom heishiv Rabbi Eliezer kol teshuvas shabiolam. On that day, Rabbi Eliezer gave all the responses in the world in order to say that it was tahor v'lo kiblo heimenu. They did not accept what he was saying. Amar Lemi said to them, Im halacha kamosi chorav ze yochiach. He said, if the halach is like me, this carob tree should prove it. And nakar chorav mimakomo meya amma. And the carob tree had uprooted from its place 100 amos. V'yamri la arba meos amma. Some say it was 400 amos. Amrulo, they said to him, Ein mevi'in rayim in hachorav, you can't bring a proof from a carob. Chazar v'yamar lehem, then he said to them, Im halacha kamosi amas hamayim yochich, if the halacha is like me, the stream of water should prove it. Chazru amas hamayim lachoreim, and the stream of water went backwards. Amrulo, they said to him, Ein mevi'in rayim amas hamayim, you can't bring a proof from a stream of water. Chazar v'yamar lehem, then he said to them, Im halacha kamosi kosle beis hamedrash yochich, if the halacha is like me, the walls of the beis medrash should prove it. Hitu kosle beis hamedrash lipol, and so they tilted, the walls began to fall. Gar bohem Rabbi Yoshua screamed at them, he screamed at the walls. Amar Lemi said to them, Im talmidei chachamim menatzchim zeh ba'alocha. If talmidei chachamim are being victorious one over the other, they're arguing over halacha, atem mativchem, what do you have to do with it? So lo naflum ibnei kvoda shel Rabbi Yoshua, so they didn't fall out of respect to Rabbi Yoshua. V'lo zakfum ibnei kvoda shel Rabbi Eliezer, and they didn't stand upright out of respect for Rabbi Eliezer. V'adayin motin v'yomdin, and they're still leaning in that same position. And the Gemara continues, Chazar v'yamar lehem, then Rabbi Eliezer said to them, Im halacha kamosi, if the halacha is like me, min hashamayim yochichu, it should be proven from the heavens. Yatzasa baskol v'yamra, baskol came out and said, Ma'alochem etzel Rabbi Eliezer, what are you doing arguing with Rabbi Eliezer, sh'halacha kamoso, b'chol makam, the halacha is like him everywhere. Amar Rabbi Yoshua al-Raglav, Rabbi Yoshua stood up on his feet, v'yamar, and he said, Lo b'ashamayim, it's not in the heavens, we don't rely on a baskol. My lo b'ashamayim, what does it mean it's not in the heavens? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Shekvar nitna Torah me Har Sinai, the Torah was already given from Har Sinai. Einanu mashkichin bevaskol, we don't pay attention to baskol. Shekvar kosafta b'Har Sinai, but Torah, it's already written in Har Sinai, in the Torah, acharei ravim lahatos, we follow the majority, we don't follow the baskol. Ashkechei Rabbi Nosson le'Eliyahu, Rabbi Nosson found Eliyahu, that refers to Eliyahu Hanavi. Amar Lei said to him, My Ovid kutsha berichu b'hishaita, what was HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing at that moment? Amar Lei said to him, Kachayich v'yamar, he was smiling and saying, Nitzchuni b'ni, my son has been victorious over me, my son has been victorious over me. Amru, they said, also hayom, on that day, Heviu kol taharo shetir Rabbi Eliezer v'sarfum ba'esh. They brought all of the things that Rabbi Eliezer said were tahar, and they burned them in fire. V'nimnu olav u'virchu, and then they took a vote, and they put him into chayrim, they excommunicated him. V'yamru, and they said, Mi yelech v'yodio, who's going to go over and let Rabbi Eliezer know that he's excommunicated? Amar lahem Rabbi Akiva said to them, Ani elech, I'm going to go. Shema yelech adam she'eno hagon v'yodio, because maybe somebody that's not proper is going to go and let him know. V'nimtza machriv es kol olam kulo, it's going to turn out that will cause the destruction of the whole world. Ma'asar Rabbi Akiva, what did Rabbi Akiva do? Lava shechorim v'nisatev shechorim, he wore black, he wrapped himself in black. V'yoshev lefana berichuk arba amos, he sat in front of him at a distance of 4 amos. Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer said to him, Akiva, ma'yom miyomayim, he said, Rabbi Akiva, what's different today than from other days? Amar lo, he said to him, Rabbi, kimedumali, Rabbi, it seems to me, shechaverim b'deila mimcha, that your colleagues, they're separating from you. Afukara begada v'cholatz minolav, so he tore his clothing, he took off his shoes, v'nishmat v'yoshav al-gavi karka, and he settled down and sat on the ground. Zolgu einav demos, and his eyes filled with tears. Laka olam shlish bezeisim u'shlish bechitim u'shlish besorim, and the world was struck. There were problems in the agriculture, a third with the olives, a third with the wheat, a third with the barley. V'yesh omrim, and some say, af batzek shibidei yisha tafach, even the dough in the hands of women, it spoiled. Tanit was taught, Af Gadol Haya Ba'oso Hayom, there was a great anger that day. Shebechol Makam Shenasan Bo'enav Rabbi Eliezer Nisraf, everywhere that Rabbi Eliezer set his eyes, it burned. V'Afra B'Gamliel Haya Ba B'Sfina, and B'Gamliel, he was even coming in a boat. Amar Olav Nachshol L'Tavo, and there came a storm to make the boat sink. Amar, he said, Kimedumali she'ein zela b'shvil Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus. It seems to me that this is all because of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus. Amar al Raglav, he stood up, v'amar, and he said, Ribona Shalom, the master of the world, Goli v'yadua lefanecha, it's revealed and known before you, Shalom lechvodi asisi, that I didn't do this for my honor, v'lo lechvod beis Abba asisi, I didn't do this for the honor of my father, elo lechvodcha, I did it for your honor, Shalom yirba machlukas b'Yisrael, that there shouldn't increase arguments in Klal Yisrael. So nachayam mizafo, so then the sea rested from its anger. And the Gemara continues, Imashalom devisu de Rebbe Eliezer. Imashalom was the wife of Rebbe Eliezer. Achse de Rebbe Gamliel havoy. She was the sister of Rebbe Gamliel. Me'ahu ma'isa ve'elech, from that incident and onward, lo have a shav kolei Rebbe Eliezer lemeipal alape. She didn't let Rebbe Eliezer fall on his face, meaning she didn't let him say tachanon. How yomerei shiarcha have, on a day which was Rosh Chodesh, v'yechlefla ben mali lechaser. She got confused between the full month and the month that was not full, meaning to say she thought it was Rosh Chodesh, it was a day he wasn't going to say tachanon, but really it was a day he was going to say tachanon. Ika diamri, there are those that say that wasn't the confusion, rather asa anya v'koy abava. There was a poor person that came by the gate, apika lei rifta, she brought him a piece of bread, and so that's why she didn't stop him from saying tachanon. In any case, ashkachte denafal alanpe, she found that he fell on his face, she found that he was saying tachanon. Amrele, she said to him, kum katlis lachi, get up, you've killed my brother. Adahachi nafik shipura mibeis Rebbe Gamliel. In the meantime, a shofar rang out from the house of Rebbe Gamliel, the shachiv, that he had died. Amar Loi said to her, Menoyadat, how did you know that this is what happened? Amar Loi, she said to him, Kach mekublani mibeis aviyah, but this is what I have a tradition from the house of my grandfather. Kol hashorim ninolim. All of the gates are closed, chutz mishari ona, except for the gates of ona, somebody who's been mistreated. Therefore, I understood that if you would pray in this fashion, that my brother Rebbe Gamliel would die. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Hamanes Ager, if somebody mistreats a ger, that's referring to verbally mistreating the ger. Over Bishlosh Alav, and he transgresses 3 negative commandments. V'halochs, if somebody oppresses the ger, that refers to other kinds of oppression, not verbal mistreatment. Over Bishnaim, so then he transgresses 2. The Gemara says, Ma'ishna ma'ana d'chsivi shlosh lavin. What's the difference ma'ana? When we talk about verbal mistreatment, there are 3 lavin that are written. It says, V'ger lo sona, v'chiyogor itcha ger bi'artzachem lo sonu oso, v'lo sonu ishas amiso. Those are the 3 lavin, and by amiso it doesn't say ger. However, v'ger b'chlal, amiso hu ger is included in amiso, that's included in his neighbor, so you have 3 times it's written that you shouldn't verbally mistreat. But lo chtzonami shlosh ksivi, but by oppression also, there are 3 times that it's written. V'lo silchatzenu, v'ger lo silchatz, it says again, you can't oppress, and kenosha, that means to say that a person is forcing him, as Rashi says here, lo siya lo kenosha lachatzu, that's oppression. Shedochko, you're pressuring him, letvo achova, you're trying to claim the debt that he owes you, so that's another kind of oppression. So again, it says 3 times when we talk about lachatz as well, so how come you're saying that it's only 2? And so the Gemara says, rather, you're right, both when it comes to verbal mistreatment and when it comes to oppression, there are 3 lav and 3 negative commandments. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a brayser, Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol Omer, Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says, Mivnei mai hizhira Torah b'lamed vav mekomos. Why does the Torah warn in 36 places, V'amri la b'mem vav mekomos? And some say in 46 places, beger, with regards to a ger. There are so many warnings with regards to a ger. The reason is, Mivnei shasuro ra, because it's easy for the ger to turn back to his bad ways, and therefore you have to be careful not to oppress the ger. And the Gemara continues, what does it mean when it's written in the pasuk, V'ger lo sona v'lo silchatzenu, ki gerim hayisem be'eretz Mitzrayim, you shouldn't mistreat or oppress the ger, because you were gerim in Eretz Mitzrayim. Rabbi Nosson says, Mum shevechal tomer lechavercha, if you have a blemish in you, don't say that to your friend. V'hainu de'amriyinshin, that's what people say, Zokif le zekifa b'dyuske, if somebody has somebody that was hanged in his family, lo neim le lechavre zokif b'nisi, you shouldn't say to his friend to hang the fish. And Rashi explains, Mum shevechal tomer lechavercha, kevan de gerim hayisem, since you were gerim, genayu lechem lahaskir shem gerus, it's demeaning for you to mention the concept of gerus. Similarly, man de isle zekifa b'diuske, if somebody has someone that was hanged in his family, lo neima lechavre zokif b'nisa, you shouldn't say to his friend, hang the fish, means to say, misha yeshlo tali b'mishpachto, if somebody has someone that was hanged in his own family, lo yomer la'avdo leven besu, he shouldn't say to his slave or to the person in his house, tala li dagzeh, hang this fish for me, Shekol shem taliyah genaihulo, because any mentioning of hanging is demeaning for that person, so he doesn't use that word. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Ein ma'arvin peiros bepeiros, one cannot mix produce with produce, afilu chadashim bechadashim, even new produce with other new produce. And Rashi explains, Ein ma'arvin peiros bepeiros, Balabayis shomer, for Balabayis says, Peiros sada ploni ani mocher loch kach v'kach soin, the produce of this particular field I'm going to sell to you this amount of saw. Lo yarvenu bepeiros sada acheres, he shouldn't mix it with produce from another field. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Amud Aleph.